Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week, and I hope these devotional thoughts will encourage you and help you build your life more and more on Jesus and His Word. I want to throw out a big idea for you today. It's a pretty simple one, but it's also pretty significant. It's simply this: humble people are happy people. Let me say that again. Humble people are happy people. Now, in order for us to understand this big idea, we actually need to define what we mean by humble. And there's a lot of perceptions out there concerning humility, and it's not necessarily very helpful, many of them. There is a working definition of humility that I like to use, and it's one that C.S. Lewis offered. He shared that humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. I like that. And here's the truth. People who are thinking of themselves less are happy people. They're engaged in life. They're connected with other people. They haven't stopped learning, and they haven't stopped growing. They're curious, and they're self-aware, which allows them to evaluate themselves without self-hatred on the one hand and narcissism on the other. I love the Message paraphrase of 2 Corinthians 13, 5-9. It says, "Test yourselves to make sure you are solid in the faith. Give yourselves regular checkups. You need first-hand evidence, not mere hearsay, that Jesus Christ is in you. Test it out. If you fail the test, do something about it." Have you ever thought about giving yourself a regular checkup? Have you ever thought about asking the Lord, "Lord, what do we need to work on today that will help me to be more like you?" Or, "Lord, what's our next step in our lives together?" This process requires us to be humble. It requires us to humble ourselves before the Lord, but it's one that will lead to real happiness. The Apostle Paul knew the importance of humility, daily growth, and learning. The Living Bible paraphrase shares Paul's heart and his perspective well. In Philippians 3:12-13, when Paul says, "I don't mean to say I'm perfect. I haven't learned all I should even yet. But I keep working toward that day when I will finally be all that Christ saved me for and wants me to be. No, dear brothers, I am still not all I should be." It's interesting. When the Apostle Paul shared these thoughts, he was an older man and he was in prison. He was nearing the end of his life. He was an incredibly mature person, but he shared with the Philippians that he had not arrived. And if anybody had the right to say that, surely it would be the Apostle Paul. After all, his letters comprise the majority of the New Testament. But no, Paul said, "I haven't arrived. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still becoming more like Jesus." One of the things that so often keeps Christians from following Paul's example and continuing to take their next steps in relationship with Jesus is a thing called pride. When you think you've got it all together, when you think that you have arrived, you won't make an effort to become more like Jesus. You won't pursue the next steps you need to take in relationship with Him. Humility, on the other hand, that leads to happiness because it makes us teachable. It makes us open to the paths of life and living that we need to take. Happiness and humility go together because they cause us to ask, how can I be a better spouse? How can I be a better parent? How can I be a better friend? How can I be a better boss, a better employee, a better follower of Jesus? When we're not asking ourselves these questions, we're missing out because in essence what we decided to do is to stop opening ourselves up to curiosity, positive self-awareness, and ultimately growth and grace. One of the steps that we can take toward happiness and humility today is by praying a simple prayer from Psalm 139, 23 and 24 that says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." I am so thankful that you joined me for another encouraging word devotion today. And I want to remind you that you belong at Butler Church of the Nazarene. We are a church where you belong, where you can discover belief in Jesus, where you can become more like Him, and learn to build your life upon the solid foundation of His Word. I hope that you will join us this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. for our morning worship service. Our address is 110 West Nursery Street, right here in Butler, Missouri. You can discover more about who we are as a church. You can discover more about what we believe by going to our website, www.bnaz.church. Once again, thank you for joining me. I hope to see you Sunday. And remember, you belong at Butler Church of the Nazarene.